Welcome to the Mental Militia, uniting minds and freeing souls from the bonds of mental slavery and ruling class manipulation.
Okay, and welcome back to video 2 of the 2.0 version of the free contract killer course. I have a lot of crazy notes, a lot of handwritten notes. Things have just been pouring in over the past day or two, and they all apply to this particular section. So I'm just like losing my mind a little bit trying to figure out, like, wow, I have all this brand new stuff that's going to be implemented in this video that's like literally a day old. I haven't even thought about it yet, but it has to be entered here. So the first thing I want to go over with you guys is that in the last video, there's something I didn't talk about with you guys, okay? And it's the frivolous IRS arguments, right? The truth about frivolous tax arguments, right? Now, they use the word taxpayer for everything. Taxpayer, 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 taxpayer. And I was trying to figure out how do I combat this, because I was getting this a lot from people. Oh, Brandon, what do you think about this frivolous tax argument page? It covers a lot of the stuff that you're talking about and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, interesting. So I went on a little discovery. First thing I noticed was this word taxpayer used 9 trillion times in almost every single sentence to describe everybody. So I started noticing that. I said, what is the definition of the word taxpayer? So I went to the tax code, back to the definition section, 26 U.S.C. 770, where we saw person and where we saw trade or organization and where we saw someone who resides outside of the United States. And I found it, boom, on 14, subsection A14. The term taxpayer means any person subject to any internal revenue tax. Now, keep in mind, again, person, this is the Title 26 definition, which is the A1 in this exact section that we're in right now, so we can scroll up. The term person shall be construed to mean and include an individual, a trust, estate, partnership, association, company, or corporation. So if I wanted to reread this and kind of give it a little old mixeroonie, the term taxpayer means any individual, trust, estate, partnership, association, company, or corporation subject to any internal revenue tax. And as we saw in 26 CFR 1.871-1, if you're a non-resident alien and you don't have any income, which income is a really crazy word too. I don't know if I talked about that in the first video. I may have forgotten, but the word income is hysterical. I mean, you could... The word income doesn't really even exist. It doesn't really have a definition. And we're going to get into all that later in the course when we start getting into infinite money and negotiable instruments and all that. Anyways, income is a joke, right? But you don't have any whatever from the District of Columbia, so you're a non-resident alien. So you would not be subject to any internal revenue tax. Thus, you would not be a taxpayer. Thus, this truth about frivolous tax arguments section, every single inch of it, has absolutely nothing to do with you. It's like they're talking about French people or people in New Zealand or something. It has nothing to do with you. It only has to do with taxpayers, which would be U.S. citizens or resident aliens. So if your family sends you this, or your friends, and they're like little scared little bitches, just tell them to go look up the definition of taxpayer from 26 U.S.C. 7701 subsection A14 and ask them why that word is used to describe the person they're talking about in every single sentence 315 times throughout that entire document. They aren't talking about non-resident aliens. Non-resident aliens would not be a part of the definition of taxpayer at all. I am not legally a taxpayer. And I'll tell you right now, if I said I was a taxpayer, that would be perjury. Perjury is up to 1 year in prison. I can go to perjury for saying I'm a taxpayer. Because it's a lie. I'm not, by definition, legally. Even if I wanted to be. Let's say there was like some tax benefit or something. Oh, I want to be a taxpayer. Too bad. Too bad. I can't. It's physically impossible. It's physically impossible for me to be a taxpayer. So if they release something tomorrow and it was like, oh, taxpayers get $400,000 for free from COVID-2 or something, or some new virus that they're going to manufacture and release to the world, doesn't matter. I wouldn't be eligible to get it. Okay, just to be clear. So I wanted to mention that before we move on to the next video. So with that mentioned, now we're going to officially move to the next video now, second video. We're going to start with the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is where everything started, right? And it says here that it was ratified. It was never legally ratified. I'm going to show you all the evidence on that, right? So I'm not going to get into all this. It goes into citizenship. See this? Citizenship. All people born or naturalized in the United States are citizens. It goes into a bunch of stuff, right? And I can go on and on and on about this into great detail. I'm not going to do that. You guys can look up the 14th Amendment and go on a deep dive on that, and you guys can learn all about it, right? But what I'm going to show you is, I'm going to show you, if you go to the questions and answers page, all the way down near the bottom, I have a, well, we're going to cover this in just a moment. Let me just pull this up. And then we're also going to cover, the Slaughterhouse cases, right? So the 14th Amendment, so this is what happened, essentially, in a nutshell, right? I'm going to give you a full screen of me, okay? And you guys should look this up. I'm not going to go down this whole rabbit hole with you. This is an area that I'm going to give you the outline, and then I'm going to expect you guys to go out and do all the nitty-gritty research on this, okay? Because otherwise it's just going to be 3 or 4 or 5 videos just covering this one section, and I don't want to do that. Okay, so at the end of the Civil War, which was all about slavery, they wanted to release the slaves, the blacks, as they say, right? That's their terminology, or they actually say the Negroes in the actual term, in the actual text, in the actual terminology, right? So what happened is that they had this war and all this, and I think the South didn't want to release slavery, and the North did. So what they did is they came to this sort of middle ground, and they basically released an entirely new version of citizenship, because they didn't want all the people who were the true Americans, the true what they called at that time state citizens, which we'll get into right now. They didn't want all of the released slaves to have all of the rights of a state citizen, meaning somebody who's living in one of the 50 states, the unincorporated original 50 states. Okay, so there's a series of Supreme Court cases that happened right after the 14th Amendment called the Slaughterhouse cases. And this is when they finally determined that there's 2 different types of citizenship, and the 14th Amendment created this secondary citizenship category that only has civil rights, and it's not a state citizen, it doesn't have the Constitution and the Second Amendment and all this kind of stuff, right? And if you look right here, now look at this. We are on Google, guys. I am not on some backwoods, crazy conspiracy theory website, anything like that, okay? I'm on Google. This is the front page of Google. I typed in the words Slaughterhouse cases into Google, of all places. And we're going to go to Wikipedia, which I know is not the best place in the world, but I'm just showing this as like a shock factor. On the front page of Google, on Wikipedia, which you can literally pay, and you can lock out pages and change it, and it's the easiest place in the world to control the narrative. It doesn't get any easier than the front page of Google and Wikipedia to control the narrative, okay? So I'm showing you this because it's so hilariously extreme. And you can say anything you want. You can say, oh, Brandon, it's Wikipedia. You can say anything you want. I'm just showing you this is extreme. It's so funny they haven't even. Okay, so the Slaughterhouse cases was a landmark U.S. Supreme Court decision which ruled that the Privileges or Immunities Clause of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, only protects the legal rights that are associated with federal, U.S. U.S. citizenship, not those that pertain to state citizenship. So what happened is that they created this federal U.S. citizen category at the same time that they incorporated the government, which is 1870, 1871, the Organic Act of 1871, and then the 14th Amendment, and then the Slaughterhouse cases. So again, you should dig into all those if you want lots more information. The big, huge carrot that was part of the Organic Act of 1871. Organic Act of 1871. District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871. So the big part of this is all part of what happened. The District of Columbia was born and the public school system was born. So you have the incorporated government called the United States and the District of Columbia that was born. You have the public school system that was born. You have the federal U.S. citizenship category that was born. And this is where you have the birth of this whole giant corporate campus, and then you have all of the quote-unquote Negroes, their words, not mine, that were being, they didn't want to give them the full state citizenship, which is the real one, which is the one of like Californian or Texan, right? Because before this point, there was you were a citizen of a state. You wouldn't say I'm a U.S. citizen. You would say I'm a Texan. I'm a Texan, right? That was your citizenship was Texan. Your citizenship was Californian. That was the citizenship, right? So, state citizens, which you see a lot from a guy who I love who has a bunch of great videos, Richard McDonald. For those of you who have not seen him, he talks a lot about this subject, and he has excellent videos. State citizen. I'm not even sure. Let me see here what we have. Here's a photocopy of one of his old websites that's been gone for a long time. He passed away. Here it is, Richard McDonald on state citizenship. So if you look up some of these videos, Richard McDonald on state citizenship. Let me see if this goes
every month. This Airbnb.
Yeah, so
pays me in semi-passive income.
This guy here, give me 1 second. This guy here, let me just show you real quick.
Trunk of the car. Guess what? He got a ticket. They didn't impound it. He still had a driver's license in his pocket.
So this is Richard McDonald, amazing guy. He talks a lot about state citizenship. Someone you should check out if you go on my State National Resources page. Here's the resources. You can go down, and I just, like yesterday, added a link here, right here, the old Richard McDonald books and materials from back in the day. Click on this, and it's a shared folder, and it has all of the Richard McDonald books from way back, I think 20 years ago when he used to teach this. He had these books, right? These are all free. They're scanned copies. Someone sent these to me. Okay, so you have state citizenship. So before the Slaughterhouse cases and the 14th Amendment, there was only we the people. There was no persons. This is where persons were born. So all of the slaves, the blacks, the Negroes, whatever you want to call it, that's what they call it. I'm sure they had more quote unquote colorful words to use as well. This is when they became persons. They weren't people. They weren't allowed to be people. They were made into persons as federal U.S. citizenship category was born, right? So, this is what literally birthed everything. Is this so-called 14th Amendment. It birthed the CIA, the FBI, the public school system, the driver's license, the Federal Reserve notes, the District of Columbia, the EPA, literally everything. All slavery and all three-letter agencies, besides the sheriff's office, even the police was born out of this federal U.S. citizenship category. Anything incorporated, anything working in a corporate capacity, which is literally everything I just mentioned, came out of this federal U.S. citizenship category.
If you think that all is lost, that every dream has faded, that the last light of hope is gone, think again. It's there within you, something that can never die.
You can live again.
The power.
Live again.
To rise. To create. To live again.
You can live again. You can live again. You can stand on your own 2 feet. You can rise up from any defeat. You can live.
Because nothing is more powerful than you.
So a state citizen, before that point, a state citizen, there was only state citizens, there was only we the people, and there was pretty much just the sheriff and the county recorder, and that was it. There wasn't any of this police and driver's licenses and license plates and speed limits and all. Now what's crazy is this same system, this federal versus state citizenship system, is still in effect to this day. And if you go online and you type in, we're going to type in some things here. I'm going to show this to you. Let me just close some of these windows. It's too many windows, right? This one's going to go, right? So we have, let's see here. We have the next part of this that I'm going to show you. I'm trying to... All of this is so new. Some of this stuff I just learned so recently. I'm going to show you some stuff that's just so crazy. My head is spinning, literally teaching you this right now, right? So I have this on my Williams & Williams law firm under the questions and answers page. There's a whole section on the 14th Amendment, right? About how racist it is and how horrible it is and how it's destroyed everything and caused us all to be slaves. And then I also have it on the Amnesty Coalition page. If you go to the Amnesty Coalition page, I'll show you that as well. I'm a little bit disorganized here, so I do apologize. Let's see if this comes up. And I'm going to pause the video for a second. Okay, so I'm back. I'm just trying to keep it from turning into the first course where you're having to wait while I do all this. I can pause things now. How cool. So if you look here, you can see on the Nation of the Amnesty Coalition page, I have a whole section on the 14th Amendment here. The question is, why are you so upset about and stark opponents of the 14th Amendment? And it goes into great detail as to how and why that is. And then it has a couple photos of a little bit of the information, and then it has a clickable link right here. And it's a shareable link, and the exact same text almost exactly is also on my Williams & Williams website on the questions and answers section. You scroll all the way down to the very bottom, and it's basically a copy and paste of all the same info. And then you have the same thing. You have a link to the big boy document here, and then you have the actual document, right? So I'm going to pause for 1 second to turn off my phone. Okay, back. So annoying. So, okay, so pause for 1 second here. So let's look at this thing, right? We have the congressional record of the 90th Congress, first session, and we're going to go down here, and we're going to see here, what does the section say? The 14th Amendment, equal protection law or tool of usurpation. What is usurpation? Usurpation. The act of taking someone's power or property by force or without right, especially a position of power. Stealing and eliminating someone's power, right? You see here, it's talking about how the 14th Amendment is a sham. We have tolerantly permitted the habitual misuse of words to serve as a vehicle to abandon our foundations and goals. Thus, the present use and expansion of the 14th Amendment is a sham, serving as a crutch and hoodwink to precipitate a quasi-legal approach for overthrow of the tender balances and protections of limitation found in the Constitution, right? So I recommend you read all this. They talk about, I'm not going to get into this too much because it's going to take a while, but they talk about how each exact state that did not approve the 14th Amendment in detail, you can go to the next page here and you can see it says right here, Texas rejected the 14th Amendment on October 27th, 1866. Georgia rejected the 14th Amendment on November 9th, 1866. Florida rejected the 14th Amendment on December 6th, 19... And they have these references that you can go and look up. And they're basically saying that I think it's 2/3 or 3/4 of, let's see here, permitting the ineffectiveness of said resolution as above, 15 states out of the then 37 states of the Union rejected the proposed 14th Amendment between the date of its submission to the states by the Secretary of State on June 16th, 1866 and March 24th, 1868, thereby further nullifying said resolution and making it impossible for its ratification by the constitutionally required 3/4 of such states, as shown by the rejections thereof by the legislatures of the following states. So this is the congressional record. This is not, people use fucking like news articles as sources for like so many things, and a lot of people use news articles as sources to other news articles. That's the world we live in now. It's a world of complete horseshit. It's absolutely the most pathetic fucking thing in the world. Bro, this is the congressional record of 1967 saying this. Our own Congress is saying that this is bullshit. The 14th Amendment is what created the U.S. citizen category. Congress has said already and given us all the evidence that we need to use in court or anywhere else that it was never legally ratified. What does that mean? It means that there is no such thing as a U.S. citizen. U.S. citizen doesn't even legally exist, bro. Like in the last video, I said, I'm not a U.S. citizen, and if I said I was, per 18 U.S.C. 911, I'd be committing a felony up to 3 years in prison for saying that I'm one. I couldn't say I was one if I wanted to. They don't exist. There is no such thing as a U.S. citizen. There never has been such thing as a U.S. citizen. It's fucking racist as fuck. The U.S. citizen category was created to fuck over the blacks. I mean, you could say to yourself, oh, well, Brandon, at least the U.S. citizen category allowed them to be released from involuntary servitude. Yes, but we're living in 2024, guys. This isn't 1871. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think if you tried to go out here on the street corner and, I'm just going to say it, tried to do an auction for human beings, I don't think that'd go over so well. You tell me if I'm wrong, right? It's not a part of our culture, man. It's buying and selling humans is not a part of our culture anymore. It's not even a question. It would be attacked in any state, right or left leaning. In California, it would be really attacked. In places like Texas, it would still be attacked. Maybe less, maybe not. You don't know. You could say like, oh, the conservatives wouldn't attack us hard. You don't know that. You don't know. You don't know until it happens. I might go out here in the street corner and see some shit like that and no one's doing anything. Here, I don't know. I'm just telling you, generally speaking, buying and selling of human beings in today's world isn't going to, we don't need the 14th Amendment to protect us from that. we don't need this. We don't need this bullshit amendment that was never ratified, that created all this horse shit. We don't need it. Okay. So this is very fascinating, right? So this whole thing, the CIA doesn't even exist. Federal Reserve doesn't even exist. The District of Columbia doesn't even exist. The public school system doesn't even exist. If the U.S. citizen category doesn't exist, none of these things exist, right? So people always ask me, oh, Brandon, what do we do? Do we vote for Trump? Do we vote for Biden? Oh, my God. Or do we vote for Kamala Harris? You're better off feeding your dick into a wood chipper, bro. All of the above. It's all trash. Trump, and just to be clear, just to really clear the air here for a second, I'll clear the air with you guys. I voted for Trump in 2020, okay? And I'm never going to vote again. I didn't realize that it's illegal for me to vote. I had fucking literally no idea it was illegal for me to vote. I had no idea. I thought I was a U.S. citizen. I had no idea that category literally doesn't even exist and it can't exist and I can't be that. And had I known that at that time, like I covered with you guys, I believe in video number 1, 18 U.S.C. 911. Now, if you look here, right, I don't mind telling you guys this information, and I'll show you why, right? Whoever falsely and willfully represents himself. I mean, falsely is also an interesting conversation, but willfully represents himself to be a citizen of the United States, right? I had no idea. I thought I was. I thought I was a U.S. citizen. I thought that was the normal thing. I thought we're supposed to vote. I thought all this stuff. So it wasn't like a willful, I wasn't trying to fall, like I didn't know. Now that I know, I definitely will never say that I'm a U.S. citizen ever again. And I realize that if I do, I'm going to prison. So this whole category, it doesn't even exist. Not only am I not one of these things, in my own world, in my own head, and in the real world, which we're going to get into in a moment, the difference between the real world and the fake world, there's actually terms for it, and I'm going to show it to you. In the real world, not in the fake world, in the real world, there is no U.S. citizen category. It doesn't exist. The 14th Amendment was never legally ratified. And like I said, you want all the evidence. Submit this document that I have, that I give you away for free. Submit this into any court case that you have. You could have a criminal case for trafficking 480 tons of heroin and say, I'm not a U.S. citizen, and the U.S. citizen category doesn't even exist, and submit this as evidence. And every single reference that they give in this little document, submit it as reference. You're going to blow the whole goddamn court system up with a hand grenade. The 14th Amendment is unconstitutional. Look at that. This is not a lot. This is only, the first page is just the cover. And we have 1 page here, 2 pages here, and 3 pages here, and 4 pages here, and 5 pages here, and 6 pages here, and it ends, I believe, at this line right here. So 6 pages minus half the first, or maybe a quarter of the first, and then maybe half-ish or a quarter of the last. So you're only looking at about 5.5 pages of real actual text, okay? It's not that... For how powerful this is, I would say take the time to read this word for word, really understand this. This is the craziest, most powerful thing ever. You could use this for anything. You could use this for traffic tickets. You could use this for... It's everything under the sun, moon, and stars, except criminal cases where there's a victim and the victim presses charges, is all under the assumption of the 14th Amendment. Everything. Driver's licenses, tickets, citations, taxes, state taxes, sales taxes, all traffic violations, drug trafficking, as long as there's not a victim. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on. If there's no victim and the victim's not pressing charges, it's under the assumption of the 14th Amendment and the federal U.S. citizen category, which doesn't fucking exist.
It's time to rediscover the human soul. Not the mystical, the metaphysical, or the supernatural. We're talking about the source of your abilities, your motivation, your vitality, the thing that makes you, you. We're offered a dream of convenience, but what of self-fulfillment, happiness, peace of mind? No more speculating, no more of this or this, but this. It's time to find out for yourself. To look, to know. It's time to rediscover the human soul.
No one is fighting this. No one is using this as what's called an affirmative defense in litigation. And I'm going to teach you later in this course how to get into litigation, okay? And for those of you who are already in a lawsuit and you're like, oh shit, I'm going to use this, use it, but I'm going to give you a little tip right now, and I'm going to give you a lot more of these tips later in the course. Don't just try to get cases dismissed, please. We're trying to actually change the atmosphere of this country. Don't just let the bullies off by dismissing the case. Dismiss the case, but then counterclaim and turn around and go after them for fraud and damages and trying to destroy your rights under color of law. We're going to get into all that later in the course, but don't ever dismiss a case. Don't you ever dismiss a case without going into a counterclaim. You want to dismiss the case, and then you want to paint your fucking face, take your shirt off, and run right at them with the deadliest, most horrific fucking facial expressions they've ever seen. You want to haunt them as a living nightmare till the day, like multiple generations of their bloodline. And it's not about revenge. Like I said, we're going to get into all this a lot later. It's about correction. We need to correct the system. We need to get these things under control. We need to stop these bullies that are using things that are not lawful. They're not legal. This is not the government. We are not against the government. We are not anti-government. This is not government. The 14th Amendment it's just criminal. It's a criminal enterprise that has absolutely nothing to do with the government. You say, oh, fuck the government. It has nothing to do with the government. Has nothing to do with the government. It's not the government. The 14th Amendment is not the government. It's this like renegade corporation, the whole corporate empire that exists in the District of Columbia, the federal corporation. That's all from the 14th. It's all horseshit. It's all renegade, criminal, corporate. It's like fucking, it's like mafia shit, bro. It's got nothing to do with the government. It's not the government. The 14th Amendment's not the government. So you're all mad at the government. It ain't the fucking government. So who the fuck you mad at? You got to realize these things, bro. That's why I tell you, on my website and all this stuff, like you're all mad and you're not going to be mad by the end of the course at the government because it ain't the fucking government, bro. You're mad at the wrong person. This ain't the government. It's bullshit. Even Congress tells you in 1967, they tell you that this is bullshit and it's a tool of usurpation. It's pure cocksuckery. It's evil. The 14th Amendment is evil and was never properly ratified and does not exist and destroys our republic and destroys everything. Everything has been born from the 14th Amendment. So you say, how, Brandon? How do we fix all this? It's so easy. It's so easy. It's so easy. Everything that you hate about the quote-unquote government, it's not the government, and it's born out of the 14th Amendment, and the goddamn thing doesn't even fucking exist. It's so easy. It's so easy. everything you hate, everything you despise about the system, everything that you want to quote unquote fight against as a freedom fighter of the planet, the goddamn thing doesn't even exist. It's a ghost. It's a poltergeist. It's fake. It's not even real. You think you need to get out there and vote for Trump and do all these things and you need to fight and spend all this money, and there has to be PACs and super PACs and Democrats and Republicans and this and that, and you got to fight the DMV and you got to fight the ATF so we have our Second Amendment, you got to do this and that. No. You don't need to do anything. You have to do literally nothing. Nothing. You don't need to do, you could literally jerk off and smoke crack. And that's all you got to do, and you'll be fine. That's all you got to do. You got to do nothing. Get rid of your driver's license, get your contracts cleaned up, get your passport, do a few other things, and just stop operating with this assumption that the 14th Amendment. Are you a U.S. citizen? I don't even know what that is. What is that? No idea what that is. What do you mean you don't know what that is? I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, it's that thing, blah, blah, blah. I have no idea what you're talking about. What do you mean? Blah, 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 blah. And then you go deeper and deeper and deeper, and they're talking about the 14th Amendment. 14th Amendment, I don't know what that is. I don't think that's real. It's not real. There is no 14th Amendment. There is no U.S. citizen. So you can say, I'm not a U.S. citizen. If you want to go a step farther, I don't even know what that is. That's not real. They call you a sovereign citizen, not real. What's funny is that what they believe in, which is the U.S. citizen category, literally, legally, isn't real. They're the sovereign citizens, okay? People who believe in the U.S. citizen category and people who believe in the 14th Amendment are actually literally sovereign citizens. So have fun with that, okay? Have fun with that realization. Have fun with that recognition. Okay, call them a fucking sovereign citizen. They're the sob sits, okay? Shit's hilarious, okay? So there is no 14th Amendment. There is no U.S. citizenship category. And when we realized that, and you guys helped me, I just changed today, before I did this video, I just changed the covenant of an ambassador, which you'll see here as well as in the explanatory statement that we're going to go over later. I just added these 2 points to it today, right? The recognition that the 14th Amendment is the most evil, illegal, and racist thing that has ever been activated in North America. It was never legally ratified, and as an ambassador of the nation of the Amnesty Coalition, you agree to do everything in your power at all times to stop, clarify, eliminate, destroy, harm, and attack the 14th Amendment in every possible circumstance. You agree to educate and crusade against the 14th Amendment ceaselessly to its eventual demise. All, quote-unquote, black, because I know a lot of the guys who are what I've been told is preferred is melanated, by the way. But I'm not going to put that here because it's going to be too confusing for the typical reader because they don't know what that means necessarily, so I just put it in parentheses here. All black men and women deserve to have the same rights and freedoms as all state citizens had prior to 1870, and you promise to allow for this to become a reality. You can really understand that Congress has mentioned in the first session of the 90th Congress that the 14th Amendment was never legally ratified, and you pledge to assist Congress to correct that massive understanding, okay? So we're going to get this 14th Amendment thing thrown out. It's not even there. All we got to do is just get it recognized as not being there. Once it's recognized as not being there, every single issue that you think Trump or whoever is going to fix, this is how we're going to fix it. And if someone's not talking about this, if someone's not talking about the 14th Amendment and the fact that it was never legally ratified and we need to get rid of it, they have no idea what they're doing. And that includes Trump. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people love Trump who follow my stuff. And I'm sorry to kind of burst your bubble. It bursted my bubble too because I did vote for him 4 years ago. He's not even close, bro. He's not even like 10 football fields close in terms of what needs to occur. This, I'm telling you, this is what needs to happen. It's very, very simple. There is no such thing as a U.S. citizen, right? So all prisoners who have been convicted of victimless crimes will be released with their record scrubbed. All driver's licenses, business licenses, liquor licenses, every single license ever, anywhere, hairstylist, it doesn't matter. Any license, all of them will be gone. No DMV, no smog, no registration. Income tax and the IRS, gone. CIA, FBI, ATF, gone. They can all be merged into the sheriff's office. They don't need to lose their jobs. Federal Reserve, gone. Federal Reserve notes, gone. All freedoms involving arms will be restored, and the firearm term will be destroyed forever. Won't exist anymore. Medical licenses, license to practice law, which doesn't even exist anyways, but that whole idea, the false idea that even exists, that'll be eliminated. Medical licenses, surgical licenses, all licenses of every type will be destroyed. CPS, all child protection services will vanish instantaneously. Court systems will all revert back to before they were incorporated. Constitutions. So this is the next thing I wanted to cover with you guys. Let's cover constitutions. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you some shocking information. How many constitutions, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you some shocking information. How many constitutions are there for California? There's 2 constitutions. One before it was incorporated. So the first one's from 1849, basically. And the second one's from 1879. And the incorporated version of the government occurred in 1871, I believe, or 1870. So this one here is the original non-incorporated state citizen version of state of California. And this one here, the 1879 version, is the incorporated federal U.S. citizen version of state of California, which is located in the District of Columbia. How many constitutions are there for Montana? 2. Right? I would need to get into more as to these dates are kind of weird. The California one's more clear. How many constitutions are there for Indiana? 2. 1816 and then 1851. That's a little interesting. I would need to check those out in more detail. But I would assume to some degree the 1851 version is probably incorporated or something weird is going on with that one. If I had to assume, right? Now check out Texas. Just a quick look at what we've got here. 7 constitutions, right? And right around here is where it would have been incorporated. 1866 is where state of Texas would have been incorporated. So if you're in the courts or you're doing anything and you're using one of these, it would be under the state citizen category. If you were using any of these, it would be under the federal U.S. citizenship category because it has to do with the incorporated version of the new government that was created right around that time, 1866, 1871, right in there at the end of the Civil War when Texas rejoined the United States. Do you see that? Illinois. We'll go over a few more of these. And obviously I'm showing you this, and I'm not getting into too much of this because I want this video, I'm trying to just do a whole bunch of crazy shit, and then you can branch off and you can check all this out on your own. And it's like, holy shit, this is like, I'm giving you a bunch of rabbit holes to dig down because I don't know what state you're in. Every state, I get 80,000 people a month coming to my website. I got 95,000 people have signed up for the first course. This one's going to be 1,000 times better. So, we're all going through this together, right? Now we have this term. Illinois has 4 state constitutions. New Jersey has, according to my notes here, 3. 1776 was the first one. because it was one of the original states, right? Like the little ones like Connecticut. And getting into those ones would be really fascinating. Connecticut, New Hampshire, Vermont, and those little tiny ones. Those probably have really, really interesting and rich constitutional histories.
In the wake of the unimaginable, in the shadow of uncertainty, in the face of fear, it's time to rediscover
We can live, we can love, we can hope, we can rise, we can be more, be more.
your hope,
We can dream, we can fly, we can change, we can ride, we can be more, be more.
your purpose,
We can live, we can love, we can hope, we can rise, we can be more, be more.
your passion,
We can dream, we can fly, we can change, we can ride, we can be more, be more.
your potential.
Take your name, show your mind. Raise your head, raise it high. Don't look back, reach inside. There is more to this life.
You.
Love, we can hope, we can rise, be more, be more. We can dream, we can fly, we can change, we can ride, we can be more, be more. We can be
Because no matter what we may face, nothing is stronger than the human spirit.
In fact, if you want to learn more about this whole incorporated versus unincorporated and how the constitutions have changed, I would start with the little tiny states, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire. I would look at those first, and then I would go to New York State, and then I would go to New Jersey. I would go from if I looked up a list of when all the different states were ratified or whatever, I would go from the first ratified state and I would study that one first, and then I would go to this. I haven't done that yet. I'm just kind of realizing that right now on this whole thing. I'm just realizing kind of how I would do that. If you're interested in learning more about that and you want to go into a kind of a deep historical dive on how all that works in relation to the incorporated versions versus the pre-incorporated versions, which again occurred around 1865 through 1871, right in there, okay? And like I said, all of this information is still live even to today, and we're going to see that right here, right? So I found this article literally 5 minutes before I started this video, and I was like, oh my God. So I had to add it in here, okay? So this is an article on the Department of State website about statelessness, right? The aftermath of World War II and the reconfiguration of nation states created a surge of stateless population, which led the drafters of the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights to include Article 15, which states that everyone has the right to a nationality. I showed you guys that in video 1, and should not be deprived arbitrarily of his or her nationality. Statelessness exists in every region of the world, but remains a largely hidden problem without government recognition. What does it mean to be stateless? Bro, this is like gonna just rip your fucking skull right off. A stateless person is someone who, under national laws, does not enjoy citizenship, which they define as, which is kind of fascinating, the legal bond between a government and an individual, which is, I don't really think that's the best definition. It's kind of a weird definition in any country. While some people are de jure, and I can't believe, or I'm going to show you this, I can't believe that they are using this terminology, bro. It just blows my mind, right? De jure. So if we go into Black's Law and we look up de jure, which is on, this is the 4th edition, page 557. De jure means of right, legitimate, lawful, by right and just title, right? And it's the contrary of de facto. If we go back to it, we're going to see de facto, right? De facto is here, which we're going to get into in just a moment. But check this out. De jure, right? It may also be, let's see here. By law, of right, legitimate, lawful. That's what de jure means, right? And then if we look at de facto, which is on page 555, de facto, indeed, actually, this phrase is used to characterize an officer, a government, a past action or a state of affairs which must be accepted for all practical purposes, but is illegal or illegitimate. So it's like it exists, but it's fake. Like the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is de facto. It exists, it's here, but it's completely illegal or illegitimate, right? Whereas the original de jure state, California state, the state citizen state prior to 1865, is de jure, which is of reality or of law or correct, right? In this sense, it is the contrary of de jure, which means rightful, legitimate, just, or constitutional. Thus, an officer, king, or government de facto is one who is in actual possession of the office or supreme power, but by usurpation or without lawful title. And what did Congress have to say the 14th Amendment was? A tool of usurpation. Oh, wow. Congress is telling us that the 14th Amendment created an entire illegal or illegitimate government. Shocking. It's not a conspiracy theorist sitting in some basement. Congress, on the record, told us this. Fascinating. Well, an officer, king, or officer or governor de jure is one who has just claim and rightful title to the office or power, but has never had plenary. What does that mean? Plenary. Absolute, unqualified. But has never had absolute possession of it or is not in actual possession. A wife de facto, look at this. A wife de facto is one whose marriage is voidable by decree, as distinguished from a wife de jure or lawful wife. We're going to get into that a little bit later. When you get a marriage license, you're getting a de facto marriage, by the way. A real, honest-to-God marriage is not done through a marriage license. It's a joke. Okay? So check this out. While some people are de jure or legally stateless persons, meaning they are not recognized as citizens under the laws of any state. So, bro, this is like so fucking crazy. This is the Department of State website. And they're saying that while some people are like actually legally like real, aka stateless. Many people are de facto, which means illegitimate or illegal. Or effectively stateless persons, meaning they are not. I mean, it doesn't even make sense, but it's just crazy that they even use this terminology, bro. And dude, you want to see something really creepy? One of my fans sent me this. Bro, this is creepy. I mean, like, hold on to your fucking hats, bro. Do you remember in the movie The Matrix, there was that girl and Neo was told by the person behind the computer he didn't know yet, through the green text, to follow the white rabbit? I'm literally like, my hair is standing on edge just telling you guys this. The White Rabbit's girl, her name in the fucking movie The Matrix, her name is literally de jure, bro. Like, I am not a conspiracy theorist, bro. I swear to God, bro, like you will not see me talking about all this stuff and conspiracies and all this stuff and all this kind of craziness that a lot of people really get into. A lot of the shows that I go on, yes, they are conspiracy shows, but bro, this is just plain creepy. Like crazy, bro. Crazy, bro. And they spell her name like this. I don't remember in the show ever seeing a spelling of her name. So they say her name is spelled D-U-J-O-U-R, but I would need to review the actual movie because I don't think her name is ever actually spelled in the movie. And I think they're actually saying D-E space J-U-R-E is her name, de jour, which means, so what's the white rabbit? Follow the white rabbit to learn the secrets to get out of the Matrix. De jure versus de facto. Dude, it's crazy, bro. It's fucking crazy, bro. I literally wanted to add all this in like right before the video. I thought about all this. I have all these. I printed everything off. I'll show you. I printed everything off and then I made all these blue marks. And I was like, oh shit, dude, we got to add all this in. Fucking crazy, bro. Like, again, just this one video right here, just by itself, utterly obliterates the entire first course, all 39 videos, bro. Like, dude, this shit is like crazy. I didn't know any of this. I didn't know any of this 2 years ago, bro. It's so fucking crazy. It's so fucking crazy, dude. It's so fucking crazy. But anyways, I digress. Okay. So how does this whole system work, right? So what they do is they make you tell them that you are this lower level individual called a U.S. citizen. And then what do is they sell you or approve you to get little tiny chunks of your rights, which you already had, but you gave away, back to you. Driver's license, permit to buy gun, business license, liquor license, selling liquor, medical license, all these things. They're all selling you back little tiny chunks of your rights that they tricked you to give up by saying that you are this completely non-existent thing, doesn't exist, called a U.S. citizen. The federal U.S. citizen category does not exist. There is no such thing as a federal U.S. citizen. For me to say that there's a federal U.S. citizen, or for me to say that I am a federal U.S. citizen, means I'm going to prison for up to 3 years. So what is this action of them selling you back your rights ad hoc? Just these little pieces of your rights. Like going online and buying, little piece. It's called enfranchisement, right? Just like we saw franchise and franchise tax. Enfranchisement means turning you into a franchise. The act of making free by giving a franchise or freedom to. So once you become this fake federal U.S. citizen, now they sell you or rent you back your rights at a cost, and they decide who gets those and who doesn't through this enfranchisement system. Your FFLs and your driver's licenses and all that bullshit. It's all bullshit. Okay? Another term I wanted to share with you guys is manumission. That's one I really enjoyed in the last one. The act of liberating a slave from bondage and giving him freedom. So they say enfranchisement or manumission because as a U.S. citizen, you basically don't have any rights at all whatsoever. So they're freeing you from having no rights by giving you little tiny itty bitty scraps that they give you, right? So now we're going to go into the next section here. Next section I wanted to show you. This one here is inducement. I wanted to show you that word. Let's find that. And I know I didn't get into a lot of the stuff. I didn't get into the 14th Amendment or the Slaughterhouse cases or the Organic Act or a lot of the stuff, or I didn't like start diving into all the constitutions. The reason why is because I kind of just want to give you really, really good landmarks. I want to put really, really good. Oh, wait, I think I didn't show you those last two real quick. Let me just show you those last two real quick. I think the camera was off. Let me just backpedal for 2 seconds and show you 698 enfranchisement is here. So you can see that. And 1194 is manumission. Show you that real quick just to make sure. I think I fucked up there a little bit. And hold on, let's see. Here's manumission. And here is enfranchisement right here. And I think I showed you du jour. I'm not going to go back to that. I think I had that one on the camera. Du jour matrix. This is the White Rabbit girl here. Du jour. There we go. Just to be sure. I may have missed something, but let's go forward from here. We have inducement. That's the next thing I wanted to show you guys. Inducement. Oh, I see. Okay. I know what happened. I'm using my numpad. Fuck. Okay. I won't do that again. Okay. So everything was there. We're all good. So inducement, that's what causes my camera to go back and forth is my numpad. I spaced out completely. Inducement. In contracts, the benefit or advantage with which the promisor is to receive from a contract. Inducement. Let me see here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pause the video for this. Okay, I'm back. So this is in criminal evidence. Inducement means motive, that which leads or tempts to the commission of a crime. That's like their motive for removing your rights through enfranchisement, manumission, 14th Amendment, federal U.S. citizen. Inducement is the word that's used to describe the motive behind that and why they do that. Fraud is, I'm going to show you fraud as well. Let's show you fraud real quick. Oh, I'm not going to use the numpad. Okay, 864 as fraud. Let me just scroll down here. Unintentional. Now this is again just like frivolous. Everyone uses the word frivolous. No one knows what it means, right? Fraud, the same thing, right? Unintentional perversion of truth for the purpose of inducing another in reliance upon it to part with some valuable thing belonging to him or to surrender a legal right. Holy shit. So the person knows the truth. They pervert the truth on purpose to fuck with another person, to make them relying upon the falsity, and then through that fake false situation, getting them to give away or voluntarily give away some valuable thing or to surrender a legal right, right? So literally, no joke, the 14th Amendment is fraud, like literally word by word of the definition. Are you a U.S. citizen? It asks you all the time on everything. It asks you that on, it doesn't ask you if you're a U.S. citizen. It used to, but it says, are your parents U.S. citizens on the passport? It asks if you're a U.S. citizen for driver's license. It makes you say you're a U.S. citizen for voter registration. They're asking you all the time, hey, are you a U.S. citizen? And they just kind of look at you and kind of wink. Again, I don't think hardly anyone knows any of this information. So, you're going to get like mad and you're going to start thinking after learning all this that like everyone else knows all of this, and like you're going to get all mad at like the Social Security people and like everybody else. They don't know any of this information, bro. Just to let you know. They wouldn't be there. No one would be working for $15 an hour if they knew any of this information. That's like my like ultra back of my head. Like that's like really simple. If they're not getting paid shit, or even if they're getting paid pretty decently, they don't know this information. If you find someone who's like a huge monster executive, like in the Department of Motor Vehicles, and they're making like $200,000 a year, maybe they can, you know, their scruples can be purchased, right? But you know, these people don't know. These people don't know, right? So don't assume people know these things. They don't know, okay? A false representation of a matter of fact, whether by words or by conduct, by false or misleading allegations. An allegation is really an important term. You'll see this all the time, and no one knows the definition to it. Allegation means setting forth that of which you intend to prove. So if I say I allege that you stole my remote control for my TV, that means I think you stole the TV remote, and I'm going to prove it, and I'm going to go through the actions to actually do what needs to be done to actually prove it. Like whenever you get a letter from any government agency or whatever, they're like this allegation and that allegation. It's like, okay, who cares? Like they're saying we think you did these things, and we might prove it at some point in the future or something ridiculous. Allegation doesn't really mean much of anything. Okay, so keep in mind. Or by concealment of that which should have been disclosed, which deceives and is intended to deceive another, so that he shall act upon it to his legal injury. So false information that is known by the person giving the false information, which causes another person to act on it, which causes them legal injury. This is the definition of fraud. So fraud has no statute of limitations. So you can actually sue and go after literally anyone who tries to use the 14th Amendment on you, even though it's from 1871. Makes no difference. Okay? Let me pause the video for a second to review my notes. So state tax and sales tax are both entirely dependent upon, we're going to come back to me, sales tax. And so voter registration, paying state tax, and driver's licenses. Those are the three ways that they make you a resident of state of California, which is a corporation located in the District of Columbia. That particular corporation's constitution was written in 1879. And I have nothing to do with that. I've never been a resident of that place. I've never even traveled through it. I've never temporarily visited it. I've never domiciled inside of it. I've never had anything to do with the state of California. Okay. So if I was going to be involved in any sort of court case, my constitution that I could use if I wanted to would be from 1849. Okay. That's the one that was there prior to the incorporation of the government. Okay, so physical location has nothing to do with residency. We went over that in the last video. Sales tax, that all these taxes come from you being a resident. You're a resident because you say you're a resident. It comes back to naturalization, right? The term sovereign citizen is bullshit. You're starting to see that now because citizen of what? Sovereign of what? It doesn't... Makes no sense. Sovereign, if you were a citizen of a sovereign nation, you could be considered a sovereign citizen, but that term is just a political headpiece term at this point. It's not even worth getting into. Oh, here we go. I wanted to get into the definition of jurisdiction on this one because we're going to start getting into some important stuff, and I wanted to start showing you guys some important terms. And this is the last thing I think I have for this video. Okay, jurisdiction, right? It's an important word you're going to hear a lot, right? Let's see here. It is the authority by which courts and judicial officers take cognizance of and decide cases. Okay. The legal right by which judges exercise their authority. It is the authority, capacity, power, or right to act. So without it, they cannot act. Okay. Let's see here. There's a lot of information here. Obviously, we're going through this. Just going to look at this for just a moment, but it's an important word. You hear about it a lot, and it's something that you should definitely take a look at and look through all these definitions and stuff, because you're going to be hearing me use this word throughout this whole thing, and you're going to be hearing this word constantly. And I think that most people have a pretty decent idea of what this term means, but I think there's definitely more that we can learn. So kind of going through here and taking a look real quick. Anyways, I'm not going to get into all that and just read through all this. I just want to show you that those first few definitions and those first few ideas, and jurisdiction of the person is power to subject parties in a particular case to decisions and rulings made in such a case. Okay? Let me just pause this for a second and check over my notes and see if there's anything else I wanted to go over. Oh, I don't think I had you in for that whole section. Let me just jump back over here and show you the beginning part of where I was at on that. I was right here. In this area right here on the left-hand side where that thing is, right? Here's the one quote. It is the authority, capacity, power, or right to act. And then I think I named a couple other ones right in this area right here, which is Black's Law, 4th edition, page 1067. Okay. Let me just check over my notes for a second. I'll pause the video for a moment. Good, I think that's it. I think that's all I wanted to do for this video. This is kind of a little bit of a history and kind of give you more background information as to how all this happened and where it came from, and a lot of various very cool deep rabbit holes that you can go down yourself and have a lot of fun doing it, especially involving your state, the background of your state, the constitutional variations of your state, and then also the 14th Amendment, the Slaughterhouse cases, the Organic Act, the Civil War. The definition of the word person was redefined around that same time period, according to my research, right around 1865, something like that. So all of this whole kind of corporate nightmare was all designed right around that same time period, right at the end of the Civil War. So that was kind of all planned, apparently. And yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to cover on video number 2. So thank you very much, and I'll see you guys at video number 3.